All right, why don't we go ahead and start? For those of you that don't know me, I'm Carrie Ackerman, Chair of the Select Board this year. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I have a few announcements, and then we'll have our usual roundtable. So you all should have received the town meeting calendar that the Select Board has adopted, which is a good guideline for any committee work that you might be doing in advance of town meeting. Also, the Select Board is holding 3 what we're calling focused meetings this fall that you might be interested in. The first one is September 20th, this Monday. We are going to do a brainstorming on offset revenues that might help lower the taxpayer cost for the middle school. So everyone is invited to join us, and no idea is stupid in a brainstorming. However, we will later whittle the ideas down. October 18th, we're going to be looking at our committees and just trying to figure out why we have so many committees and how to get more volunteers and what we can do about that. And November 15th, we're going to be looking at Envision Concord. What progress have we made? And what are our priorities going forward? So those are all Monday nights at 6:30. Everyone is welcome. If you haven't signed up for news and notices, please do so and ask everyone else that you know to sign up, because this is the best way to find out about meetings and other events in town. A few more announcements here. We've sent out the most recent meeting guidelines, and I really hoped today that I would have a better update, but things have changed again in the last few weeks with the Delta variant. And the Board of Health is meeting again next week. And so things keep changing. So if we have another future update, which we probably will, we'll send it out again. But right now, you can meet in person or by Zoom or hybrid. And there's only 2 places to meet hybrid, Kaiser Road or the light plant. So all of that is explained in these guidelines. And we're also looking for your ideas on how you think we could hold a robust and good meeting under these circumstances with COVID. Another announcement is the green cards. We no longer have green cards. We are renaming them volunteer cards. And this is because in our new DEI world, diversity, equity, inclusion, it turns out that this term green cards has scared and offended people. And we definitely don't want to do that. We have nothing to do with immigration. We want volunteers for our committees. So there are still some cards that are green, but we're calling them volunteer cards, and most people apply online anyway. And speaking of that, I'm going to quickly read through a list of vacancies. And if your committee has a vacancy and I've not listed it, I'll let us know when we do the roundtable. Tax Fairness Committee, Historic Districts Commission, Conservation Restriction Stewardship Committee, Council on Aging, Concord 25 Executive Committee, Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, Personnel Board Study Committee, Transportation Advisory Committee, and the Bicycle Subcommittee. Middle School Building Committee, if you have construction experience. Natural Resources Commission, Public Ceremonies and Celebrations, and the new DEI Commission, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. So I'll bet there's more. So when we go around, let us know. And finally, our next chairs breakfasts, they will continue at the third Wednesday of the month. So you might want to mark your calendar, October 20th, November 17th, and December 15th. So that's the third Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. by Zoom, October 20th, November 17th, and December 15th. Okay. Susan Bates, your hand is up. Are you wishing to add something?
I'm sorry, no, I don't know how that happens.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
So if we're going to go around, and if someone needs to leave early, I have a list of a few people. We will be starting with Cynthia and Mary. And is there anybody else who needs to leave early today?
Excuse me, Terry. Hi, it's Dawn Goriello. What's early? When is the last?
Okay, well, let's
Is
say
10 early? I need to leave at 10.
at 10. Yeah, let's try to finish by 10 anyway. But I'll make a note of that, Dawn. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we will start with Cynthia. And so for each person, you want to state your name, your committee, if there's any vacancies. That's a new vacancy, Cynthia, yes. What your committee's been working on, and if you have any creative ideas about hybrid meetings. Okay, Cynthia, take it away.
I'm going to ask that Sarah Wilson precede me, as we will cover many of the same topics, and I don't want to have her duplicate material that I'll cover. So, and then I'll cover Concord specific items, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you. Sarah.
Hi, Sarah Wilson, Chair of the Concord Carlisle Regional School Committee. So big news is we're back in session full time, everybody. Masks. We have yesterday passed a vaccination mandate for the policy for all staff and employees. The protocols about being in person are ever changing based on changing guidance, based on changing situations. So I'm not going to go over any of our protocols right now, but for most current information, visit the website, and that is where whatever is in place at the time will be there. But so far, very successful start to the year. Everybody seems happy. We have all of our bus drivers. We have, I mean, everybody's in it together. So it's great. And then let's see, our big things that we're working on. We have a workshop coming up tomorrow night where we will delve into our goals and how we plan to become a more effective committee working together. That will be from 4 to 6. And it will be on Zoom as well as in person at Ripley. We are working on DEI. As you may know, Andrew Nemichi has been hired, changed positions to become the director of DEI for the schools. And we also have a new DEI subcommittee right now. Tracy Morano from Concord and I are on that committee. And it was brought up, Carlin Reed mentioned that a lot of your committees also are including elements of DEI. And so please, if if your committee is ever handling any of these, if it relates in any way, please reach out to me so that we on our DEI committee can know what's going on in the town on that front. That would be very much appreciated. We have started work on the budget process that will get more robust in October as we're preparing our fall budget book and looking at capital plans and all of that. We did just have a member resign. Fatima Mezdad has stepped down to pursue some academic work on her own. And I think that's, and I guess in Concord, that's a the select board is working on that process of how to fill that vacancy. And I think that's the big news. Yeah. We did our special ed director left over the summer. And so we have an interim special ed director who has hit the ground running. And so that's in a good place. I think that's it. On
Yeah.
the
Thank you very much, Sarah. Cynthia.
We did have a discussion last night preceding the select board meeting on Monday that will be coming up on Monday. And I think it raises a lot of exciting opportunities for both Concord Public Schools and the town. So I look forward to that discussion. We posted as a meeting for the Concord School Committee so everybody can participate. So Terry, thank you, and select board, thank you for coming forward with that great idea to have this discussion now. We also have a new MECO director because Mr. Nemichi was taking the job as the DEI director, and she's also hit the ground running. So, we have some new people in our structure, and I think it's exciting, and I think it'll be a great team. So if anybody has any questions, I just want to ask one question about Concord meetings. Are masks required if meeting in person?
The Board of Health is meeting next week.
Okay. I can make it. Concord School Committee requires masks, so if anybody.
Right. Masks are strongly recommended right now, and they're not a mandate at this time. But
Okay,
that-
I just make it clear that you cannot come to a Concord School Committee meeting without a mask, or if you do, we'll move you to a private conference room to keep people safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go next to Mary Hartman.
Thanks, Terry. Hi, my name is Mary Hartman. I'm a member of the Finance Committee. Chris Reynolds, who's our chair, couldn't be here today, so she asked me to cover for her, and I'm happy to do that. As you know, the Finance Committee is a large committee. We have 15 members, and I think 14 are seated. It's a very engaged committee, so we can cover a lot of bases. So I've got quite a bit of work here that I'm going to talk about that we're looking forward to starting in the fall. The first would be the budget guideline. This is something we do every year where we publish a % increase that we recommend for both the town and the school's operating budgets. We publish a preliminary guideline in late October and then a final guideline in December. So that's something we do every year. The second thing we're looking at is the new capital planning process. We're very interested in that, and we're going to hear the first look at the new 10-year capital forecast in early November. So that's something that we're interested in or excited about. The other thing we're keeping an eye on is the middle school. As Terry said earlier, we're thinking up ways to mitigate the impact to the residential taxpayer. The other thing we're looking at is affordable housing. We're putting together something called sources and uses. So we're looking at what have been the sources of funding for affordable housing and what have been the uses of those funds over the last few years. We're also looking at free cash, which, as you know, is very low because we've been using that. The state legislature allowed us to use free cash to shore up our operating budgets. So our free cash is kind of hovering below where we typically want it to be. So we're taking a close look at that. And then I think that's it. Oh, and finally, economic vitality. We're looking at economic vitality, not just as a way to make sure that the businesses in our villages thrive, but also to look at potential ways to increase the amount of revenue we can get from commercial enterprises to help, again, mitigate the impact to the residential taxpayer. And that's it. For now, we're going to stay meeting by Zoom because I think we've got such a large committee and a lot of people work. So for now, we're going to stay with Zoom, and I think we can do that up and through April. So that's all we're doing. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mary. That's the kind of summary that we need from everybody. Just pack it all in a couple of minutes so we can try to fit everybody in by 10 o'clock. Okay, next we go to Nat Welch.
Morning, everyone. Terry, welcome aboard as the new chair. I think this is our first meeting since you took up that role. Second. Well, it looks like I missed the last one. So a quick update from that's what happens when you get over 65. A couple of things that we're working on. One is our next meeting is next week. We'll be covering updates from the Mass DOT on the last half mile. As you probably all know, this is a challenging area by White's Pond. We've had a lot of really good conversations and input from abutters and folks at White Pond. So I think we're on a good spot, but we're really interested to hear what Mass DOT has to say about some of the fencing and other protections for that area in that last half mile, which is from Powder Mill Road to the Sudbury line. And that project is moving along. I think the start will probably be 2022 or 2023. We're also, a few months ago, we passed on to the town some questions that were coming up about what to do in Junction Park. I just want to raise that I've been getting some emails from people with regard to Junction Park, and I know that the select board has as well. I just want to say the committee is ready to help out where we can. If the select board would like us to do something. We are going to include some discussion on Vision 2020 over the next couple of meetings. Someone has asked us to talk about plowing the Bruce Freeman during the winter. I'm sure that's going to be another exciting and fun-filled conversation. The new bridge over Route 2, which you know has been completed. We're still looking at a July 2022 opening. That's the last word we heard from the project manager. And we have 2 vacancies in our committee. And that's my report, unless Richard has something he wants to add.
Richard?
We're good. Thank you.
Okay, Richard is the co-chair. Thank you.
You.
Nat. Okay, Dawn Gurello is next.
Thank you, Terry. Hi, everyone. Dawn Goriello. I am co-chair with Pat Nelson on the Concord Middle School Building Committee. I'm getting feedback from someone, but
Cynthia, I think you have 2 devices.
Yep.
There we go. Okay. There we go.
Let's see. Okay, that sounds better. Thank you. So we finished up feasibility. I think I mentioned that in the last meeting I attended. We finished that up in May of this month. I'm sorry, May of this year. You can tell I have a lot going on. We are deep into schematic design, at which point we will finish up in early November. We'll get cost estimates, professional cost estimates that'll be reconciled from both our designer and our OPM, at which point we'll have a number to bring forward to the community. And we're hopeful that we can get a special town meeting and a ballot in January is our hope. So our discussion on that will be part of our meeting tomorrow morning. So we have a meeting at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow morning if anyone's interested or has feedback. And that will hopefully come out of that with a recommendation for the select board, and we'll share that with Terry so it can be discussed either Monday or at a soon to be future select board meeting, whatever they're comfortable speaking about it. So that's our short-term schedule. Our community and outreach, I want to just say thank you to Terry and the select board for allowing Heather Bout to continue on our committee. She came off as the school committee representative as one of them and was replaced by Alexa Anderson, who is great. But Heather was so deep into our communication, she was really valuable to our committee. So we're super thankful that was able to happen at that level. And Heather and Alexa together are working on lots of community and outreach. So if you haven't seen the emails coming, they're starting. There's a whole plan to reach out to the community to let everyone know what we're up to, what the outcome will be coming out of schematic design, and then moving towards the special town meeting and ballot. So lots coming from our community and in particular our communications group. And then I mentioned tomorrow's meeting. There will also, I think they're scrambling, but trying to get a community meeting during the day, one day next week. The feedback was before this goes out to the estimators that it would be good to have community input on the actual design. So there'll be a design focused community meeting. I think a couple dates next week around lunchtime are being passed around for folks on availability. So look for that if you're interested in seeing where we are, giving feedback. We want to hear what folks think. That will be next week. And then there'll be follow-up community meetings, just informational and moving forward. I think early October is going to be the next one. I think that's it. We're planning to stay on Zoom. Our committee is so large. I think there's 19 of us or something. So we're similar to the finance committee. We have a lot of people and a lot of members. So we will continue to stay on Zoom. Any questions?
Thank you, Dawn. I do have one question.
Sure.
Thank you for getting the dates to us quickly, and then we will adopt them quickly. When you have your dates, are these going to be already vetted by the town clerk? So okay, great, perfect. Then
already underway, I believe. So we had a meeting about it preliminarily, like the leadership group, to put some dates out there. Stephen Crane was involved. He is running it by the eyes who need to see it before it comes forward, just to make sure that all the right amounts of time in between.
Yes.
and yep, so that's underway is my understanding. So I should check in with Stephen today ahead of tomorrow's meeting. So thanks for the reminder, but
I'll be checking with him today too. So that's great. That's great. Okay, thank you. And now we move on to Bill.
If I might, Terry, no one has talked to the moderator about any dates yet, so please do put me in the loop.
You bet, Carmen. Well, we will. I'll reach out to Stephen today and ask him both if the review's been done ahead of tomorrow's meeting, and then to also reach out to you. So I think our hope is conceptually we had put out December, but everyone felt as though that could be bad timing with end of school, holidays, vacation, etc. So the feeling was after that might be a better timeline. So just preliminarily, that's what we were discussing. So we'll get back to you, Carmen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carmen. Well, Carmen, do you want to go next anyway then?
Sure. This is a quiet time generally for the moderator, but we have this special town meeting, which has been hovering around, and I've been, until this morning's call, I had expected it was going to be in December. So clearly we'll have that to do. Other towns that are out there having fall town meetings are struggling with how to do them, whether to do them indoors with masks or distancing, outdoors, etc. For an open town meeting, we do not have a Zoom option for under state law for a town meeting. But if we need to do it, and clearly in January, we will have to do it indoors. So, and I imagine that with a project of this size, we will have a large interest. So there will have to be an awful lot of planning on this meeting. And one thing that I think we'll have to look at is having multiple indoor locations and linking them electronically. That we can do under state law, but it will present some technical challenges. So obviously the sooner I know when that date is, the sooner we can begin that planning, and that would be great.
Could I enter?
Yes, let me just respond and then Dawn. So Carmen, do you want the select board? We have not really gotten the date yet either. I guess they're going to be voted tomorrow by the middle school building committee. Do you want the select board to hold off and you take a look at these recommended dates before the select board votes them?
Well, I will say, Terry, if you want the moderator to be available, you might want to check with me. And we do have a deputy moderator who, if you pick a date when I'm not available, might also be available. And if neither of us is available, you would have to elect a moderator. So
okay, we don't want to do all that. We want you to be available. So, okay.
Well, then I think the answer is probably someone should run the date by me. Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay, Dawn, did you have a comment?
Yes, what I was going to suggest was, Carmen, I can send you the preliminary schedule that I got yesterday ahead of our meeting tomorrow. And I think the hope was that we would at least have an approved timeline. And then why don't I ask Stephen and Lori and Pat and myself to set up a meeting with you, and we'll coordinate it. If the timing doesn't work for you, then we'll adjust with that similar time between the special town meeting and ballot accordingly. So, and we can do that in pretty short order if you
So
want
Dawn,
to.
no need for a separate meeting. I had noted that topic was on your agenda.
Okay, great.
For the next meeting, and I had planned to attend that meeting. So I've been following your agendas and popping into meetings as I'm able. So I'll be at that meeting, and but it would be great to have heads up on what the dates are in advance so that I can, I do have obligations in January and work obligations, and may have some travel. So it will be good to know.
Excellent. Well, I got it at 4 o'clock yesterday, so I'm just going to finish my review and I'll get it to you today ahead of the meeting tomorrow, Carmen. Thank you.
All right. And the only other thing that I will add is I was asked to serve on the Minuteman VOC Schools Superintendent Search Committee, which will have its kickoff meeting this week. Ed has been an amazing superintendent of Minuteman, and he shall be sorely missed and hard to replace, but the committee will do its best.
Okay, that's great, Carmen. Thank you. Okay, we go on to Bill Camisa.
Hi, this is Bill Cameza, and I'm representing the Tax Fairness Committee. We do have openings, as Terry had mentioned in the opening of the meeting, for committee members, and we've been meeting on Zoom, and we will continue to meet on Zoom. Primarily, what we're doing now is monitoring the home rule petition that we have given to the Commonwealth, to the General Court, to make the senior means tax reduction, property tax reduction permanent. The last, where it's a very slow process, where it has left off is that it was at the Joint Revenue Committee, and thanks to Jeremy and to Terry and to Stephen Crane, we did get a letter supporting it in front of that committee. I talked with Tammy Gouveia about 2 weeks ago. Nothing's happened since then. And she's monitoring hundreds of bills. It might be a while. What we don't want to have happen is just to die in legislation as it did last year. And so we'll continue to press and see where we are. That's it.
Okay, good job. Thank you. Next is Louis.
Hi, I am Louis Versteri. I'm the Vice Chair of the Historic Districts Commission. I'm representing Peter Nobile. We have had probably busier than usual summer with a lot of activity and applications. We have approved very important projects in Main Street and Sudbury Road, which are very crucial to the identity of Concord as a historic city. We have one vacancy that has been going on for almost a year as in the representative of the Natural Resources Committee to the HDC. And as of January 1, 2022, we will have another one. So we are eagerly looking for volunteers that can serve in the Historic Districts Commission. We will continue our meetings via Zoom until the April date. That has been discussed among the members of the committee, and it's the judgment of everyone, including their particular circumstances, that it would be a better option. And we don't have current issues for town meeting. We have an application that was explored last year to make the Jenny Dugan Road a historic district. but that is now in the hands of the neighbors, and there has not been a lot of discussion lately. So that's my report.
Thank you very much, Louis. Next, excuse me, next we go to Jeff Fasser.
Thank you, Terry. I'm Jeff Fasser. I am Chair of the Public Works Commission. And just a couple brief updates from what's happened over the summer since we haven't met for a few months here. Early June, everybody may have noticed we had a water conservation declaration. That was partly because there was still work being done on the NACOG reservoir to improve the intake of water from that resource. So we wanted to be conservative, knowing we were moving into the summer season, which which is our higher demand season of the year. So we were being, again, cautious by making that declaration. The work was wrapped up within a month of that declaration, and then our weather conditions were more favorable to a wetter summer this year, I'm sure, as we all noticed. So that declaration was lifted in late July, but we still encourage people to be diligent about water conservation. We still want to get that message out there that we need to be aware of this valuable resource and only use outdoor watering specifically to the summer when it's absolutely necessary. Now we started up our meetings in September. We are doing our meetings virtually right now, and we have full membership. And at every meeting, we bring up specific topics that we address throughout the year. In our September meeting, the two main topics were the roads program. We go through and evaluate the condition of our roadways in town, and then develop a capital improvement plan to try to address and keep up with the condition of our roadways and make major improvements where necessary. So we talked about where we stand in that process with an eye towards feeding that into the 5-year capital process that Mary mentioned earlier, and the whole finance committee capital planning program that needs to happen every year. So we are still collecting our information and coming up with a strategy of how we would propose keeping up with the condition of our roadways in the future. The other main item that was brought up is our stormwater management plan. This is a plan that was developed a number of years ago. It's a 10-year plan. Every year we review it, see how we're doing as a community, see if there are things we need to change and update. So we had that kind of yearly assessment of our stormwater management plan. And just to be clear what that is, it's, looking at basically any drainage, any rainwater that goes into our stormwater system or into our natural water resources in town, and making sure that we are, one, controlling it to the extent we need to keep safe conditions within our community, but also making sure that the water that eventually gets to our natural water resources is controlled, cleaned as much as possible as it goes through our pipes. Because as we know, items coming off the roadway are, in addition to rainwater, there are other things along our roadways. So we try to capture those different elements that are within the stormwater and keep them out of our natural resources. So we looked at updating that just again, as we do on a yearly basis. So those are the main items. Next month we'll carry on. Thank you, Terry.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more time. Is there anybody I haven't called on yet that has to leave before 10 o'clock?
Terry, you haven't, Beth Kelly here from White Pond Advisory Committee.
Right. I know there's a lot of people I haven't called on yet. I'm just asking right now if raise your hand if you have to leave before 10 o'clock. And I see Melissa Maxwell. Okay, Melissa, you're going to be next anyway. Go right ahead.
Okay, great. I'm Melissa Maxwell from the Agriculture Committee. I'm co-chair with Liza Bemis, and we just finished up our big annual event, Ag Day. last Saturday. It was the 16th annual event. We did not do it last year because of COVID. But this year we were able to do it on Main Street. We had 8 farms, 13 nonprofits, as well as the select board and the ag committee there. And that all went really well. We are still, we had these brochures made with maps of the farms, and we are continuing on the momentum of Ag Day to distribute those to the different farms to hand out. The next thing on our agenda was the email that we got about the Envision Concord action plan. And I did just have a question about who we can contact with questions about that, because we weren't sure exactly what was needed from us for that.
Okay, Melissa, why don't you contact me offline and we'll go over that. And thank you so much for the wonderful Ag Day. It was a huge success.
Great. Yeah, the police department and Chris Carmody from the town, they all helped get it back up and running. And Stone Soup, the nonprofit, helped to fund the brochures, and the town helped pay for the banner. So it was definitely a joint effort there.
Right, and we had great weather and a great, really good job promoting it. Okay, next we go to Melissa Salfield.
Good morning. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Terry. Yes, I'm chair of the Historical Commission in Concord. Business first. We don't have any vacancies, and we continue to meet via Zoom. It works out better for everyone, even though we would all like to be together. So we will continue to do that. We have been monitoring the progress of the Massachusetts Department of Highway Route 2 Battle Road resurfacing. That's what they call it, resurfacing project. We are very concerned about the historic integrity of the park and the road and the Battle Road. The road in 2020 was named an All-American Road, which has very specific designation. It has to have a distinctive and unique feature. And some of the plans that we have heard about include lights, raised crosswalks, some dramatic changes that might occur along the road to provide for drainage, widening of the road for bicyclists and pedestrians. So there are a number of parties concerned about this, including the park itself and the area communities that are also through which Route 2A runs. We have appealed to the Federal Highway folks to be named a consulting party, which means we will be informed in a timely manner of what's going on and have been so designated. So the Historical Commission is now considered a consulting party. We have encouraged Mass DOT to create a working group that will more have greater public exposure to what the plans actually are, because so far it's been limited, and you do have to be an expert engineer to understand the plans that were submitted to us in the first place. So that's one project. We continue to work to amend which is, in our words, strengthen the provisions of the town's demolition delay bylaw. We have been consulting with other communities throughout Massachusetts on 4 specific areas that we'd like to propose amendments for next year's town meeting. We're also working to revive the historic issues. There used to be coffees, much like the conservation coffees. I was hoping to get the first one launched in October. I still hope so. We're just trying to figure out a way. I presume it'll have to be through Zoom. But we're gathering names of people who might be interested, other committees, other historic properties. And clearly one of our first issues will be this Route 2A Battle Road project. We've also revived the oral history program that had been a little bit dormant over the past few years. I'd reached out to Carlene Hempel, who is a West Concord resident and a professor of journalism from Northeastern. She has, her focus is on Emerson Hospital and their response throughout the whole pandemic. So she's interviewed about 6 people and has taken a little hiatus, and then we'll be interviewing some more later this month and next month. We, our routine work is, demo applications and historic signage. We also will be working to prepare for the response to the Envision Concord request, which I think, we all agree was a very timely, and we appreciate the efforts of I guess it's the town, the town manager and select board to get back to that and make good use of the long range plan. So that's my report.
Thank you, Melissa. Burton Flint, you're next.
Thank you, Terry. I'm Burton Flint. I'm chair of the planning board. I'll touch on a couple of projects that got a lot of interest in town that we've issued decisions on, and then what we're looking at going forward. First is the approval of the new Concord Children's Center facility at Virginia Road and Old Bedford. I think we got a record number of letters and public comments on that. That was about almost 100 letters to approve that site plan application. The second one is the subdivision at 1440 Main Street, which had been an ongoing review process for over 2 years. The planning board had issued a decision approving that subdivision. It contained some restrictions that the applicant objected to and brought suit against the planning board in the town of Concord in land court. Unfortunately, on about 3 of the 4 points that they brought suit against us, the applicant prevailed. And for this group, the important thing to take away from that was that the land court found that the provision of the Concord subdivision regulations, which required the planning board to set aside a certain number of lots for under a reservation to purchase for affordable housing purposes, was found to exceed the town's authority under the subdivision control law and was essentially struck. So and is of no further effect. So that requirement on setting aside affordable housing lots we can no longer do. That's bad news, but it's tempered by the fact that, in fact, I don't believe the town had ever purchased a lot under that reservation set aside. And I think it was primarily used in part to, in the overall negotiations of a subdivision with a developer. And that decision, the decision to not appeal that, was made by the select board in consultation with the planning board. Looking ahead, a lot of what the planning board does is straight out of the Envision 2020 plan or the long range planning process. One of the big projects which we're working on and have been working on for about 2 years as well, with tremendous support from town staff and via some grant funding with a planner from the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, is a proposal to make some zoning modifications for the Thoreau Business District. That is the area that essentially is the commercial area on Thoreau Street and down Sudbury Road, including the Crosby's lot where the CVS is and the like. And so that's something that we kicked off that process with sort of a public charrette, got a tremendous amount of input on designs, ideas, led by this planner that we had a grant funding for. We've moved that along and are looking at specific zoning modifications. And we're getting positive feedback. We're also getting negative feedback, a lot of concerns from people about changing any status quo. The focus is to meet some of the goals of the Envision plan, to allow for different types of mixed use, to encourage affordable housing and some denser use in our village centers near the train station, and to essentially allow for different models with design requirements. So unlike today, what exists, with some requirements dictating the way the buildings meet the street, the fenestration of buildings, where parking would be located. Our goal was to move forward with an article for the 2022 town meeting. That's still my goal, and the only thing that seems to be that might impact that is unfortunately with COVID, we can't have we're finding that the Zoom meetings are not leading to fruitful discussions and getting understanding with members of the public. We'd really like to have another large public meeting that people can come in and we can have designs up, up on poster boards and people can look at and provide us feedback. We hopefully, I know none of us can make any predictions, but would be able to do that this winter. If not, we may be looking at moving that to the 2023 or at least later than the 2022 meeting. Thank you, Terry. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Burton. A lot of work at the planning board. Okay, next we go to Stephanie Trobach.
Hi, everybody. I am Stephanie Krobach. I am the vice chair of the Concord Housing Authority, and I'm pinch hitting for Rick Eifler today, who's on vacation. In terms of vacancies, I have to say I'm proud to give you the news that we have a fully seated board. 3 of us are brand new, including myself. We have 5 board members and 3 are brand new, so we're definitely a new group. We also have a new executive director as of July, and we have just recently filled 2 positions in the Housing Authority office. So we have, I'm pretty sure both of those positions are part-time. One person has started already and the other one starts, I think, or actually it started this week. So that I think is good news. Before I forget too, just to tell you, I think we may be one of the few committees that actually does meet in person. So our board meets at the Peter Buckley building. We have a relatively big meeting room. Just this past week, we did wear masks. And as far as I know, and I could double, triple check this, we plan to continue to meet in person. If we can't meet in person, we will set up a Zoom call, but it's more, right now, it's more related to, weather troubles, those kinds of things, not necessarily related to COVID unless we need it. Our issue is we can't really technically offer hybrid. We talked a lot about that in one of our board meetings. So right now, so far anyway, we're in person. Our priorities, I would say one of our biggest priorities, I sort of think about it in terms of sort of local priorities, and that is really to get the Commonwealth Avenue housing project, our house project, actually fully funded. And we've got a number of steps we need to go through to get those dollars, to get the project itself finalized and to get dollars secured for it. And I know Rick was actually at the planning board last night talking it through. And I know he actually owes them, I think, follow-up information on the 28th. We plan to have our final approval by the zoning board on 10/14. And we will also then be meeting with town meeting to actually secure our last amount of dollars we need for that project to be a reality. So more to come on that. The other thing in terms of that being sort of one of our local priorities, the other thing on the local level is to also, we are fixing up some bathrooms in our current units. Due to COVID, that was delayed, but we've got a very robust project to get some bathrooms fixed. On a federal level, we are also working very closely with our elected officials to make sure that Concord gets their allocation of ARPA dollars. So ARPA is the American Recovery Act plan, Recovery Plan Act, which is lots of money for a whole host of priorities under the Biden administration. And it could mean about $10,500 for each federal unit we have. So we will, kind of full court press that as we roll into the new year to make sure that we, and our needs are, front and center for our elected officials. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. Let's move on to Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Morganti. I am the new chair of the library committee as of this week. We last met in July. We actually tried meeting outdoors at the library terrace, but we had to move once because of a play rehearsal, and then we had a problem with construction noise and mosquitoes. So it was not a smashing success, but I would like to know more about whether there are the options for meeting in person outdoors in other capacities, especially before the weather gets too cold. We do plan to meet in person with masks at the library next week. And if we need to, we will move to Zoom meetings as we have done in the past. We have a big year coming up. The library is in need of a director, and the search process started over the summer. I am the committee representative in that process. We had our kickoff meeting yesterday, and we're going to be interviewing 8 candidates tomorrow. We had not tomorrow, next week. We had a wide range of applicants. I think we had 2 or 3 dozen applicants, and we were able to winnow that down to 8 before the interview process. We also have the new wing of the library opening in October. That project has been on budget and on schedule all the way through. I think the struggle right now for the acting library director is figuring out how to cover the staffing needs, since the space in the library is increasing by about 30% and the staffing was not increased accordingly. So there's been some reduction in programs or changing of what programs will be available as that space is newly covered. Like other committees, we're figuring out where we fit into the Envision Concord, and we're going to be discussing that in our next couple meetings. And we also have our own long-range plan due in July. Every 5 years, the library needs to have a new long-range plan. We started it before COVID, and then we scrapped it, and we're starting over, but we're going to wait till the new director is seated. That's it.
Thank you, Kristen. We go next to Beth Kelly, and after that, Diane Proctor. Beth, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Thanks. Hi, I'm Beth Kelly. I'm the co-chair of the White Pond Advisory Committee along with Josh Gelper. We've been really busy. We've been having meetings every other week. 1 week will be Zoom and the next will be hybrid. We've been meeting at the planning department. I'd like to give a shout out to Jeremy and Chris for helping us secure those locations, because I know we're meeting more often than probably any other committee right now. We have a lot going on. We have finished our vision document, and we are planning to submit it to the select board on our meeting. We're going to vote to approve it September 29th, and we will send it to Terry, Susan, and the select board that evening. We are having a special meeting tonight to discuss the merit of putting in a CPA application for the use of the APOD to treat the pond for cyanobacteria. For those of you who are interested, you may have seen an article in the Concord Journal. They covered one of our last meetings, which talked about the water quality, et cetera, of White Pond, and they covered John Higgins' device that's in the pond right now, and we're getting a lot of good data. At our September 29th meeting, John Higgins and Nancy Leland, who's University of New Hampshire and is a limnologist, will be reporting some of those findings, so it will be a really good meeting. In addition, on that meeting, we have a Concord Youth Conservation Group that's been working closely with us on pond issues and the environment, and they've done a complete study of the septic system surrounding the pond for the abutters, and they're also going to be presenting. Our last meeting last week, we also formed 6 volunteer subgroup committees, and they are going to be divided into water quality, sewers and septic, the roads, the beach project coming up, and a few more. I think that's it. I'm trying to be fast. We have a lot going on. As you know, the pond has been closed all summer since July 18th, and there's a bloom. I'm a butter myself, and there's a bloom in front of the house this morning. So it's obviously been a bad situation for the pond. And I'd like to also thank Susan Bates for her continued support from the select board. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. Diane Proctor.
Thank you very much, Terry. Diane Proctor, the chair of the CPC, and our hard work, unlike yours, Beth, our hard work begins now. At 4 o'clock this coming Friday, applications for grants are due. And when we meet next Tuesday, we'll begin to review those applications. We'll do site visits on the 25th. And then we'll get about the very serious process of reviewing meticulously each of those projects over the coming months in time for the warrant, and the warrant deadline. Otherwise, I have nothing else to report, Terry, except that we're about to get very busy.
Okay, thank you.
Remind everybody that the deadline is this Friday at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Great. Okay, I think we have about 4 more people left, so we're doing well. That's great to keep it brief. Next person will be Mark Hanson. And after that, okay. After Mark, we're going to have Carol Ann Hannon.
Hi, our pollinator committee is finally staffed up. This week, we have 3 additional new members that have been appointed, and we'll be having our first meeting within the next couple of weeks. And I'll have more to report next month. But if you know anybody interested in pollinator health in the town, we're going to be looking at both pesticides and developing better spaces to support them. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Carol Ann Hannon, followed by Lee Smith.
Hi, I'm Carol Ann. I'm the chair of the Council on Aging Board. We have not met since June. We don't normally meet during the summer. We will be meeting in Zoom, in person going forward, I hope. The September meeting will be tomorrow, and we plan to take a step back and consider what the role of the board is and how we can support the COA more actively and the seniors in the community. And that's all I have to report.
That's a great idea. I'm glad you're going to be doing that. Thank you. Next is Lee Smith.
Good morning. I'm Lee Smith. I'm the chair of the Concord Housing Development Corporation, or CHDC. My brief report is that we continue to work with the developer, monitoring the approval process for the Junction Village assisted living project. They continue to communicate with DHCD regarding their funding. And we're also in the process of working with them for approval of their wastewater treatment system, which is proceeding. Also related to that project, the Junction Village Open Space Task Force has been working very hard. They've presented 3 potential scenarios for development of the open space portion of that property. And we'll be submitting an application to CPC this week requesting funding for phase 1 of that project. As far as additional affordable housing opportunities go, we've been made aware of a potential site that may be coming on the market off Upland Road, and we're continuing to pursue that with the select board and open space folks. It's a rather large parcel, and the idea would be that it would be possibly acquired for both open space and recreation purposes and affordable housing development. And we also anticipate submitting a CPC application for that. That is my report, other than just to say that we continue to meet via Zoom and all are welcome.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Diane, you have a question?
No, Lee, you know the deadline is this Friday at 4 o'clock, right?
We do.
Okay,
it'll be on time.
I'm sure it will be. Just a community reminder.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure you'll be getting some very interesting projects this year. Okay, let's see. We now go to Jill Block. Jill, are you with us? Let's go to the next person and maybe Jill will come back. There you are.
No, Terry, I'm right here. Sorry. I'm sitting in a parking lot in Maine. My apologies if I'm a little garbled. I'm Jill Block from the Board of Health. As you know, we are dealing with COVID still, and we have a strong advisory for mask wearing. We don't have a mask mandate in place. We will be meeting next Tuesday. It's our next Board of Health meeting via Zoom. We will be meeting then to discuss whether or not we need to have a mandate in place. Our approach so far has been to really masks where they should indoors and getting vaccinated. Right now, we do have a very high vaccination rate in town, and people have been adhering to best practices. Given the challenges in enforcing mask mandates, that has been why we haven't done it so far. A lot of our neighboring towns have, with some flack to those health departments. So we have just been trying to see how this goes. We haven't seen any real changes in the rate of infection or case rates in town. They've been holding steady. The last numbers I have for you go up, and at that point there were 88 total cases in town, 45 of which were breakthrough infections among vaccinated people. And the remainder from a lot of them are in children under 12. The schools do have a mask mandate in place. And again, since school has started, we haven't really seen any changes in the numbers from the summer. So we'll be meeting Tuesday over Zoom for the next Board of Health meeting. Besides the mask mandate discussion, we'll also be taking a couple polystyrene waiver requests. Those are an annual event. Since Concord passed the polystyrene ban a number of years ago, there are a number of requests that come back year after year because some products are not easily found. So we always get these waiver requests. We're also going to be talking about, we've had a special request to be heard on the interpretation and enforcement relative to the use of refillable containers. So for instance, if you go and buy bulk goods at a store like rice or other grains, whether or not you can refill your own containers. So that's something that has been asked, that the Board of Health has been asked to discuss, and that was on our agenda next Tuesday. That's the latest. We have not met in August. We have just had a lot of communication via phone and email.
Okay,
That's
thank
about
you,
it for
Jill.
now.
Just to make sure, Jill, because the sound cut out a little bit. I think we heard you say that the Board of Health does not have a mask mandate at this time, but that you strongly recommend masks indoors. Did we hear you correctly?
Yes, you did. And we will discuss whether or not a mandate would really be beneficial or required at next week's meeting. We've not heard a whole lot of requests coming from citizens or business owners in town. There's been a couple of comments here or there, but it's been an underwhelming request, I'd say, for mask mandates so far.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it from our committee people. We have several other people here who might wish to speak. I see Brooke Reed. Do you wish to speak?
This is Brooks Reed, 366 Estabrook Road. Thank you for asking, but I have no comments to make.
Okay, thank you. We also have Linda Escobedo and Susan Bates from the Select Board. Do you wish to add anything, either of you?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for all the excellent updates.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. Thank you. It's always good to see and hear everyone's report. Thanks.
Okay, that's it. If you came in late, I'm going to repeat my announcements. And if you were one of the people who missed them in the beginning, thank you, everybody. So you should have the annual town meeting calendar that's been mailed to you from Jeremy. And if you don't have it, let him know. You should have also received the hybrid meeting guidelines. Sorry, the guidelines keep changing. The pandemic keeps changing and we're trying to change with it. Right now, if you want to have a hybrid meeting, there are only 2 rooms available. So please work with Jeremy and Chris on that. We have 3 focused meetings for the Select Board coming up that everyone is encouraged to attend. This Monday, September 20th, we will brainstorm offsets to the middle school. October 18th, we're going to talk about committees. And November 15th, we're going to do an update on Envision Concord. And you should have received a letter about that as well. Please sign up for news and notices if you have not already done so. Green cards no longer exist. We now call them volunteer cards. There is quite a long list of vacancies. Ask your friends and neighbors to please apply to serve the town. And our next meetings for this chair's breakfast are 9 a.m. on the third Wednesday of every month. That is October 20th, November 17th, and December 15th. So thanks again for everybody for attending today. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.